You are nobody. That is not an insult. It is a fact. The moment you step off that bus at Parris Island or San Diego, your name disappears. You are not John. You are not Marcus. You are not whatever your mother called you when she was proud of you. You are private. You are the lowest rank in the most demanding military branch on the face of the earth. And every single person around you, the drill instructors, the cooks, the guy who mops the hallway, outranks you. Your day starts at 4 in the morning and ends when someone tells you it ends. You sleep when permitted. You eat when permitted. You breathe on a schedule someone else made. Boot camp is not training in the traditional sense. It is the systematic destruction of who you were. So something harder and more useful can be built in its place. You will be screamed at for things you did not do. You will be punished for things other people did. You will run until your legs stop working, and then someone will tell you to run again, and somehow, you will. That is the point. The Marine Corps does not want to know who you are. It wants to know who you become when everything is taken away. You survive. 13 weeks later, you walk across a parade deck, and for the first time in your life, someone pins a single chevron on your collar and calls you Private First Class. It sounds small. It is not small. That one stripe represents the fact that you did not quit when quitting was the only thing your body was begging you to do. You are still at the bottom. Make no mistake about that. You still clean toilets, pull fire, watch at 2 in the morning, and get voluntold for every detail nobody else wants. But something has shifted inside you. You have proven something to yourself that cannot be taken away. You carry more weight now, both figuratively and literally. Your pack is heavier, your responsibilities are slightly wider, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet confidence has started to grow. Not arrogance. Marines earn arrogance later. This is just the first whisper of it. Lance Corporal, 2 chevrons and a crossed rifles. This is where most Marines live, and it is not a comfortable place. You are no longer new enough to be excused for your mistakes, but you are not senior enough to be taken seriously. You are the workhorse of the entire Corps. The rank that does the most work gets the least credit, and here's the phrase, Lance Corporal Underground, more times than you can count. The Lance Corporal Underground is real. By the way, it is an informal intelligence network of junior enlisted Marines who somehow know everything before the officers do. Where the unit is deploying, who is getting promoted, which sergeant is about to get fired. The Lance Corporals know first. You are part of that network now. You are also the rank where the Marine Corps starts to reveal its sense of humor because they will give you just enough authority to feel important and just enough accountability to feel the consequences when things go wrong. It is a test, though nobody will tell you that. Then comes Corporal, and the world changes. 4 chevrons. You are now a non-commissioned officer. You lead a fire team, 3 other Marines who look to you for everything. Where to move, when to shoot, how to carry themselves under pressure. This is the first time in your life that your decisions have direct consequences for other human beings. And the weight of that is not something anyone fully prepares you for. Good corporals are the reason units survive. Bad corporals are the reason units fall apart. There is no middle ground at this level. You are either building men or you are failing them, and every Marine who serves under you will remember you for the rest of their life. For better or for worse, the Marine Corps treats the corporal rank with a kind of reverence that outsiders do not understand. This is where leadership is forged in its most raw, most essential form. Sergeant, 5 chevrons and a crossed rifles and a globe. This is the backbone of the Marine Corps, not a metaphor, not a slogan on a recruiting poster. A literal structural truth. Sergeants run the daily operations of the entire institution. You lead a squad now, anywhere from 9 to 13 Marines, depending on the unit, and you are responsible for everything they do and everything they fail to do. When one of your Marines shows up late, it is your failure. When one of your Marines saves a life on a deployment, that is your success too. The relationship between a sergeant and his squad is one of the most intense human bonds the military produces. You eat together, suffer together, go home together, or sometimes you do not go home together. You deploy with these men, you see them at their worst and their best. You write letters to their parents. Sergeants carry a kind of quiet authority that does not need a raised voice to enforce itself. By this point in your career, your presence alone communicates what needs to be communicated. Staff sergeant is where the transition from warrior to leader becomes permanent. You stop being the person who does everything and start being the person who makes sure everything gets done. You oversee multiple squads. You advise your platoon commander, who is probably a lieutenant who has never deployed and privately knows that you know more than he does. You manage training schedules, equipment, readiness, personnel issues, and the 10,000 invisible logistics that keep a fighting unit functional. This is also the rank where Marines start thinking about legacy. What kind of Marine Corps they are going to leave behind. You stop asking what you can get from the Corps and start asking what you can give to it. Gunnery Sergeant. This is the rank that Marines simply call Gunny, and the word carries a weight that the title itself cannot fully contain. Gunny is the person every young Marine turns to when they are terrified and do not want to show it. Gunny is the person every officer quietly checks with before making a decision they are not sure about. You have seen things, survived things, and built things that give you an authority that does not come from any regulation or any chain of command. It comes from the simple fact that you have been here longer than almost everyone. You have done things that most people only watch in movies. And you are still standing. Gunnery sergeants are the institutional memory of the Marine Corps. When doctrine changes, it is the gunny who remembers why the old way existed. When new gear arrives, it is the gunny who has already read every manual and field tested half of it on his own time. There is a reason that officers who outrank gunnery sergeants by 4 or 5 pay grades still lower their voices slightly when a gunny walks into the room. Master Sergeant and First Sergeant share the same pay grade, but live completely different lives. The Master Sergeant is a technical expert, the senior advisor on weapons, tactics, intelligence, logistics, whatever the unit's specialty demands. The First Sergeant is the senior enlisted Marine. In a company, the direct link between officers and enlisted, the person responsible for the welfare, discipline, and morale of every Marine in that unit. First Sergeants are called First Sergeant or top, never first shirt. That is the Army. The distinction matters here. And then there is the Sergeant Major, and above all of them, the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, a position held by exactly one person at any given time in the history of the entire institution. This is it, the top of the enlisted structure, the voice of every non-commissioned officer and enlisted Marine to the most senior leadership in the Corps. The Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps walks into rooms where wars are planned and speaks with the full weight of every enlisted Marine who has ever served. That weight is enormous. That weight is real. That is where the enlisted path ends. Not with a medal ceremony or a parade, but with the quiet, absolute authority of a person who has given decades to the hardest branch of service on earth and earned every single second of it. You walk into officer candidate school with a college degree, a fitness score, and the absolute certainty that you are ready for this. You are not ready for this. Nobody is. The moment you arrive, that certainty gets stripped away just like it did for the enlisted Marines at Parris Island. Except here, the pressure is different. Here they are, not just testing your body. They are testing your mind, your judgment, your ability to make decisions under conditions specifically designed to make rational thinking impossible. Because that is what officers do. Officers make decisions. And the Marine Corps needs to know, before it hands you a commission and a platoon of human beings, that you can make the right decision when everything around you is on fire. You earn the title Second Lieutenant. A gold bar on your collar. You outrank every enlisted Marine in the building by regulation, and every enlisted Marine in the building knows more than you do. This is the fundamental tension of being a new officer, and how you handle it will define the kind of leader you become. The good ones figure out quickly that the gunny sergeant standing next to them is not a subordinate to be commanded. He is a resource to be respected. The bad ones never figure that out, and their Marines pay the price. First Lieutenant arrives not with a ceremony, but with time. You have been in long enough to stop making the obvious mistakes. You lead a platoon now with something approaching actual confidence, not the false confidence of someone who does not know what they do not know, but the earned confidence of someone who has been tested and has not broken. Your platoon is your world. 40+ Marines who depend on your ability to read a situation, adapt to it, and bring them home. First lieutenants are often executive officers of their companies, which means they deal with the administrative machinery that keeps a unit operational. The supply requisitions, the personnel rosters, the endless documentation that war generates even before the shooting starts. It is not glamorous. It is absolutely necessary, and it teaches you something that no classroom ever could, that the foundation of combat effectiveness is built in the quiet, unglamorous hours before the fight begins. Captain, this is the rank that many Marines consider the most important in the entire officer structure, and they are not wrong. You command a company. Depending on the unit type, that is anywhere from 120 to 200 Marines. You are responsible for their training, their readiness, their welfare, and their performance in combat. More importantly, Captain is the last rank where you are genuinely close to the fight. You are still in the field. You still patrol. You still make tactical decisions at the ground level where bullets are real and consequences are immediate. Above Captain, the battlefield becomes something you observe on maps and screens. At Captain, it is still something you stand in. The best captains in Marine Corps history are the ones who understood that this was their last chance to be a warrior in the truest sense, and they used every moment. Oh, hit, they trained harder, deployed more aggressively, and demanded more from themselves and their Marines than their rank technically required. Because they knew what was coming next. They knew that above this level, war changes its face entirely. Major, the battlefield fades. Not immediately, not all at once, but it fades. You are a staff officer now, or a battalion executive officer, and your world is made of briefings, planning cycles, logistics chains, and coordination calls with adjacent units. You are the engine room of the battalion. While the lieutenant colonel makes the decisions, you make sure those decisions are executable, that the ammunition exists, that the vehicles are maintained, that the intelligence picture is current, that the plan that looks perfect on paper has some hope of surviving contact with reality. Majors who do this job well are invisible. Nobody talks about the major who made sure everything worked. They talk about the commander who led the mission. That invisibility is the job. You carry it without complaint because you understand that the mission matters more than the credit. Lieutenant Colonel, a battalion is yours. Over 1,000 Marines. You are no longer managing people. You are managing an institution within an institution. Your decisions echo outward in ways you cannot always trace. A training standard you set will affect readiness 6 months from now. On a deployment you may not even be part of. A disciplinary decision you make will shape a young Marine's entire relationship with authority for the rest of his career. Lieutenant colonels live at the intersection of strategy and tactics. Senior enough to understand the strategic picture, close enough to the ground that the tactical realities still feel personal. This is also the rank where careers either accelerate toward the highest levels of the Corps or plateau permanently. He Marine Corps is a pyramid, and it gets very narrow very fast above this point. Colonel, a regiment or installation is yours. Thousands of Marines fall under your authority. You no longer measure your impact in individual decisions. You measure it in culture. The culture